Council will come to order. All rise and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, servicemen and women, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson. Here. Councilor Camille. Here. Councilor Condon. Here. Councilor Crowe. Here. Councilor DeMaria. Here. Councilor Matheson. Here. Councilor Murphy. Here. Councilor O'Malley. Here. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Winslow. Here. Council President Sika.
Here. Under the provisions of the open meeting law, for those of you in attendance, please be informed that MATV is recording this evening's meeting, and that two of our Malden residents, Prisco Tamaro and John Mayara, will also be recording. So please be aware there is video and audio recording of this meeting. First order of business.
Malden Corps will appear before the City Council to provide an update.
Good evening, Malden City Councilors and City Council President Sika. My name is Bridget Mutebi, and I am a Malden resident. I am also a member of Malden Corps, or Malden Community Organizing for Racial Equity. Malden Corps is a volunteer-led group in the city of Malden that is dedicated to undoing racism in our public schools and our community. We are grateful for the opportunity to speak to all of you tonight.
My name is Rachel Sorling. I am a first grade teacher at Forestdale School and a member of Malden Corps. Malden Corps members include public school educators, city officials, parents, and community members. We are a diverse group of people invested in Malden's future who have come together to confront racism. We promote connections, foster conversations, and take action in our community.
My name is Urga Purette. I am a Malden resident, a parent of Malden Public School students, and a school adjustment counselor at the Salem Woods School. I am also a member of Malden Corps. Tonight, we want to briefly share with you Malden Corps' history, goals, and activities to date around achieving greater equity for all Malden students, families, and residents. We thank you for this opportunity to tell you about our work. We hope to leave you with inspiration as well as an invitation to get involved and support this work moving forward.
Malden Corps exists to facilitate and promote justice, equity, and inclusion in Malden. How will we get there? Some of our key strategies are: first, to promote a more balanced, multi-ethnic, and multicultural representation in our leadership and staffing of Malden institutions, particularly in the administration and faculty of our schools. Secondly, to increase community-wide understanding of the many aspects of racism and its effects. Thirdly, to provide the broader Malden community with an anti-racism training event, multicultural community building events, and spaces for community learning and constructive conversation. And finally, to provide safe spaces and effective processes of reporting and addressing incidents of racial bias and discrimination in Malden.
As a brief reminder about the origins of our group, Malden Corps was previously known as the Absence of Racial Discrimination and Tension Subcommittee. This group, along with 3 other subcommittees, was formed at the final meeting of the City of Malden's Community and Unity Forum in March 2017. After the Community and Unity Task Force disbanded in the fall of 2017, the Absence of Racial Discrimination Subcommittee was the only group that continued to meet consistently, eventually absorbing some members from the other subcommittees that became inactive. The Absence of Racial Discrimination Subcommittee voted in September 2017 to adopt a new name, Malden Community Organizing for Racial Equity, or Malden Core. We then voted in November 2017 to operate independently from the Malden City government.
In October 2017, Malden Core hosted an Undoing Racism training led by nationally recognized New Orleans-based training organization, the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond. More than 50 people attended this 3-day training, including Malden Core members, nonprofit and business leaders in Malden, school district staff, clergy, and others. The training helped Malden Core members grow in our own understanding and consensus around institutionalized racism in our nation and in our community. We also realize the important role that education plays in creating community-based awareness and movement to undo institutionalized racism. Because of the powerful impact the training had on those who attended, Malden Core is looking forward to hosting another Undoing Racism training in Malden. When the next training is scheduled, we would love to see more community leaders make the commitment to partake.
One of our main priorities is supporting the Malden School District to address racial inequities in our schools and education system. Many in our groups are parents, alumni, and educators whose concerns about racial equity come from direct involvement in our school district. We want to help ensure that our schools are inclusive places for everyone. Malden Core members recently spoke during public comment at the May 6th School Committee meeting to share our ideas for how we can collectively make meaningful change. We would like to share 3 of these ideas with you and invite your support as well.
First, we strongly encourage the Malden Public Schools to prioritize ongoing anti-racism and multicultural competency training for all educators in the district. This type of training shows a district commitment to building the knowledge, skills, and mindsets of our educators to whom we entrust the development of our diverse student population. Our students deserve to have teachers and staff in their schools who understand the impact of systemic racism and recognize the importance of unlearning one's own personal biases.
Second, we have asked the school district to clarify a process that staff members can follow if they want to report an incident of bias that falls along the lines of diversity, equity, or inclusion. Members of our group have been made aware of a number of instances where racial bias has caused harm affecting both students and staff. We would like to work with the district and the teachers union to ensure support of the brave individuals who risk their jobs to call attention to racial bias, profiling, or discrimination. There is no clear pathway for students and families to report instances of bias in our schools. We have encouraged the superintendent's office to clarify roles and responsibilities in writing so that schools can appropriately support students, families, and staff when instances of racial bias occur.
Finally, we support the school district to prioritize staffing that is ethnically and culturally representative of our student body. We would like to see the district set and achieve measurable goals around hiring and retaining staff of color so our students see themselves in their mentors and educators. We have shared our vision with leaders in the Malden Public Schools, including Malden Education Association leadership and Superintendent John O'Terry.
In addition to our work with the schools, Malden Core builds relationships with community organizations to collaborate on events that strengthen our multicultural community. We have collaborated on several events with Malden Reads, including the recent Beyond Fortune Cookies panel discussion and community gathering, which was a collaboration between Malden Reads, the Greater Malden Asian American Community Coalition, the Chinese Culture Connection, Malden Access Television, Malden Public Library, and Malden Core. We have participated in the North Shore Hispanic Association's annual events as well. One of our greatest ongoing collaborative efforts is a monthly series called Malden Core Fourth Wednesday Conversations. These events include a short, informative presentation followed by a small group discussion.
The Fourth Wednesday Conversations are intended to build community and to foster learning about racial identity and racism. In January 2019, we began a series of presentations and discussions around related topics, including racial bias in education, the school-to-prison pipeline, and mass incarceration. Participants have a chance to share their own experiences with these issues and to learn the perspective of some of their neighbors. We have been glad to see many of you participate in our Fourth Wednesday Conversations, which are held here at the Senior Center. We plan to start this series again in the fall and will announce dates and topics via our email newsletter and on Facebook. We hope that you will be able to join us.
On Wednesday, June 19th, Malden Core will host Malden's second annual Juneteenth Freedom Celebration. We warmly invite all of our Malden City Councilors to attend. Juneteenth is the oldest known celebration of the abolition of slavery in the United States, dating back to June 19, 1865, when Union soldiers arrived in Galveston, Texas, with news that the Civil War had ended and enslaved people were to be freed. Massachusetts became the 25th state to recognize Juneteenth Freedom Day as a holiday in 2007. In the morning, there will be a flag-raising ceremony outside the Senior Center, where Mayor Christensen will read a proclamation. In the evening at 6:30 p.m., there will be a celebration with performances and a community dinner. Malden Core wishes to thank the Malden Arts Council for helping to fund this year's Juneteenth celebration. Similar to last year, you can expect a joyous celebration with community members.
Malden Core is very appreciative of this chance to speak with the Malden City Council about our goals and activities, and we look forward to working together with each of you to build community, get to know one another, and promote equity and inclusion in Malden. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We brought pins for each of you for Juneteenth.
Thank you. Thanks. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank the members of Malden Core and the presenters today. I think that you are doing a yeoman's work that needs to be done in our community. I think many of our listeners and our community members might say, "But we're Malden. This isn't a problem here." And I think that understanding what type of internal racism we all have, just because of the society that we grew up in, is important. Recently, in the news, we read about how there was a swastika found at a Maplewood Park, a stone's throw away from Suffolk Square. That happened very recently, in the last day or two. Right before we were marching in the Memorial Day Parade, myself and a bystander discovered some anti-immigrant graffiti outside the Immigrant Learning Center. these things are happening in our community, and it needs to be addressed. I think that some in our community have tried to paint multiculturalism as a negative thing, but America is multicultural. While we were walking in the same parade that I just mentioned, Irish bagpipe men and women were leading the parade with their bagpipes. They had their Irish flag, but they were also standing with an American flag. We are a nation of immigrants, and we are a very diverse nation, and like I said, without belaboring the point, I appreciate the work that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, I really want to appreciate the work of Malden Core. I've been able to come out to the fourth Wednesday meetings as much as I can. I've really enjoyed the conversation, getting to know more people. And really, I've always come to understand that as a multicultural nation and as a city, it takes intention to work to be an effective society in that situation. And I think the great thing is I think Malden can be, you model what we need to do in Malden, and Malden can model what our nation needs to do to overcome this. So you're very inspirational, and I want you all to keep up the good work. This is work that we need in Malden and as a nation, so I really appreciate what you're doing. And we have to work to go beyond conversation and to actually have action and changes that happen from the work. Thank you. Great.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I also wish to thank the members of CORE and the leadership of CORE for all that you've done and are doing to call attention to the issues of bias and discrimination, and for the majority of people who live in the city of Malden who are not people of color, it may be very difficult for them to understand what those of us of color go through on a daily basis. You know, if you're not experiencing driving while black, or shopping while black, or any of those kind of things, if you're not experiencing that on an everyday occurrence, it may not be easy for you to understand that that is an issue. And I believe that what you all are doing in CORE is helping to bring that information to the forefront, which is very, very important. I think further I'd say that the idea is that we talk about here in the city of Malden about how great it is for us to have the most diverse school system with all the different languages that are spoken and the different representation from around the world. You know, that is a beautiful thing to be talking about. But we need to be doing more than just talking about it. We need to be turning that into action. So I see that one of the things that you talked about was asking that we have goals, that we make a concerted effort to not just go along as business as usual, but recognize that today this society suffers with the effects today of past discrimination. You know, things that have happened in the past, play out in today. So we end up having, a limited number of people of color in our school system, in our administration, in our staffing, on our city council, on all of all the places where we need to have representation. We are falling short on that. We're not falling short on having persons of color in the schools, but we're falling short on having people that are in leadership positions be able to be that role model for our students to emulate. And I think that that's very important, and I think those of you in CORE who have been bringing that information up to myself and my colleagues here, that is very, very important. I'd say further that I would just ask my colleagues here on the council and colleagues in other positions of government that we need to be taking not just a supportive role, but a leadership activity in the things that are going on, that we need to step forward and being able to speak out. And you know, the voices of overcoming the shortcomings of bias that we have in our city is much more acceptable, it's much more powerful when it's coming from white voices. You know, those of us, you know, the represent. No, got one person said that. So to my colleagues, we need you to be forceful in your condemnation of the bias that takes place. You need to be proactive in our efforts to attain goals. You need to be proactive, not just supportive of non-bias and non-discrimination, but we need you to be able to speak up, because your voices are very, very important. And I guess I've said enough of that. But again, my thanks to what you have done, and my thanks to those of you who have been supporting this, and my encouragement to those of you who have just been standing on the sidelines and not being involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to each and every one of the speakers this evening, and to Karen Hayes for suggesting that they come in front of us to give us an update. It is so important that we as a council hear the good work that you're doing. I had the pleasure of stopping in at a few of the Fourth Wednesday events, and it was very inspirational to me. And I think as a community, if we recognize that we are more alike and similar than different, we'll become a better community. So through your work, I think you're tackling the big discussions, and hopefully we'll get to that point in Malden. So I thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair. And once again, no one is going to say it better than Councilor Anderson. I think he hit the nail on the head. This is an important topic. I think your goals are laudable. We live in a very diverse community, and we all should be loving each other equally. It takes concerned residents like you to raise awareness to important issues, and surely we can do a better job, so we should all be working together to do the best job we can. And I thank you, and I look forward to seeing you on the Juneteenth celebration. Thank you again.
Thank you, Councilor Matheson. Anyone else wish to speak? On behalf of the chair, thank you for coming. Next order of business.
Candace Julian from Malden Arts will be here before the City Council to discuss the mural that will be done at 110 Pleasant Street, Malden.
Hello, that's a tough act to follow. I feel like talking about art, which I thought was, this is good, it just feels a little insignificant. So let me sort of gather my thoughts here. I'm here to update you on the art line. Naomi Brave, who is our president of Malden Arts, talked with you almost a year ago now about what we were up to, and we wanted you to know the next step of what we're up to. Naomi is in Japan right now, so she wishes you all hello from Japan. So our first effort was the Emberley mural, which many of you were there for our ribbon cutting. That happened a year ago. You'll recognize the Jackson Street Garage. We're very thankful to the MRA to let us use the Jackson Street Garage for that mural. We also involved art students from all three of the high schools in Malden to do that. And that was particularly appropriate because Ed Emberley, who is a Malden-born artist, is interested in promoting the young people and getting involved in art. So we felt it was really important that the kids be involved in that art project. We were really thrilled by the response of the Emberley mural, both that people seemed to really adore the mural, which is great. We loved it, so it's good to know that other people loved it too. We were also very honored that our fundraising effort, which started with community fundraising, was then matched with mass development money. Then Senator Jason Lewis put a line item in the state budget for us, and we received some CPC money, and altogether we've raised $100,000 for this effort. So thank you all for that. It's been kind of an amazing ride to raise that much money. And the other piece that, not yet, the other piece that's kind of interesting is as we were doing all of that, the Commonwealth decided to focus on the Northern Strand Trail, which is where the art line is. And they hired Brown, Richardson and Rowe, which is a design company, to do a lot of the stuff that we were thinking we were going to have to do that has to do with planting. We didn't really want to do planting. We wanted to focus on art, but we felt that pocket parks needed some kind of landscaping, so we were willing to take it on. Much to our delight, Brown, Richardson and Rowe is taking that on. So as a result, instead of the 2 pocket parks and murals that we were going to do, we now have a new plan, which is for the same amount of money that we thought we were going to spend on that, we're now going to be doing 4 pocket parks or hubs and 5 murals. And what I'm doing here tonight is to let you know what those look like. So, go ahead. So before I get into that, the one thing that was interesting to us in Malden Arts was what could we do that would tie everything together? And we discovered this fellow who found a propane tank and thought it was beautiful, and he was a designer, and apparently I've learned a lot about propane tanks. Propane tanks have to be changed quite a bit, and there are a lot of them as a result all over the place. This guy decided that propane tanks had a really beautiful shape, and so he started designing benches out of propane tanks. He calls it I always say this wrong, upcycle instead of recycle, because what he does is so much greener and doesn't require much. I have to, what is my note about why that was? I always forget this part, sorry. It's 99% post-consumer reused. So it's a very small amount of what he does. He doesn't change the shape of the propane tank at all. So we have 3 of those benches that are going to be all along the Northern Strand Trail. Now we can go. So the first hub or pocket park that we're going to do is on Canal Street. You all will get an invitation, but put down in your calendar, I'm so glad it doesn't conflict with June 19th. On June 20th, it's going to be a busy week in Malden. On June 20th, we're going to have our grand unveiling of this first pocket park. This is the location. It's across from the Cambridge Health Alliance. And what you see there are markers for cement foundations that are being poured for our sculpture. Now, one of the things, this has been an amazing experience for us. So not only did we raise $100,000, we put out a call to artists, and we got 120 responses from artists and sculptors all over the United States and Canada. This was a tough job to come up with who we would pick for our first phase. We decided that this fellow, his name is Joe Malensky, he's a retired machinist from Missouri who, when we checked out his references, people just were over the moon about what a terrific guy he was to work with. And we felt that the bicycle was a great first sculpture to have on the trail, obviously. So what you see here is not what you're going to have to come on June 20th to see the real sculpture. What he did was submit these 2 ideas to us, and he is now creating a sculpture just for us that has some of the playfulness of the tandem bike sculpture and is going to have the gravity of a group. We're also hoping that he's going to have a child in that group. So I'm really excited about this. The second piece is one of Colin's benches. Now, this is what's been really fun. As much as we've been having a good time with this, so have the artists. So Joe continually sends me pictures of what he's doing right now. So we have an update. The Colin has been doing the same thing. This is what the bench looks like now. He's designing this bench for us for this Canal Street site. And the third thing, again, we get updates from our own Malden. Clay Larson is doing the mural for that. We're calling it the River of Ties because it's going to be all of those panels. And the idea is about the herring run, since the river that's underneath that trail that comes up is actually a river that has a very active herring population. This is going to be, what he's going to do is have stencils along those panels that you saw in the Jackson Street garage again. Thank you, MRA. He'll have those so that as you walk along the trail, it'll be like a moving diorama. So that's what the Canal Street looks like, and hopefully you'll come on June 20th. All three of the artists are going to physically be here to talk about their work and how they put all this together, and we can celebrate the beginning of the art line. The next pocket park, which is the one that was the major thing that we talked about initially, is Ferry Street. And we have a really good surprise for you. We discovered, bike racks are bike racks, but we found someone who does bike racks that are zip codes. So at Ferry Street, we will have an 02148 zip code bike rack that will be very visible right there. And we'll have another one of Colin's benches. This one he has a bench that faces both ways. So the bench both will face the trail. You can sit and talk to people on the trail, or it can face the street. We liked that possibility. And this River of Ties, Clay Larson is doing this one as well. This one features the railroad that was along that trail that went for 100 years. I've learned so much history, I have to say, as a result of this. The railroad, when it was at its peak, was running 36 whatever a day you would trade. Thank you. So this will be, again, the same kind of thing with stencils on the River of Ties. Then we're also thrilled that we can bring some art to the wonderful happenings that are going on in Linden Square as well. So again, we'll have another Welcome to Malden with an 02148 bike rack and another bench. We really liked the whimsical quality of this bench, and what Colin's going to do is adapt it so it can be a good bench with a lot of people can sit on it, and we're going to have it off the trail, sort of in a place where people could actually sit and maybe even picnic. So that's what Linden Square looks like. And we also, not all of those, but more, we have some additional murals. So in addition to the Emberley mural, we feel that thanks to Sharon Santillo, who brought Frank Stella back into the fold of Malden, she got him to allow us to put his design on our walkability signs. And that was an award-winning feature that brought Frank to back here so we could talk with him. And then last year, Frank donated some work to the library. And this year, he created a mural for the art line. And we have permission from the hockey rink to have this on the hockey rink on Eastern Ave. And we will be working on that this summer. And now, this, I know that it came up 2 weeks ago. This is the last mural that we're proposing for the art line. Much to our delight, this is serendipity, I probably shouldn't confess this, but This is the 50th anniversary of this song, Spirit in the Sky. Norm Greenbaum grew up in Malden. He was on Lisbon Street. Sharon's our historian here. And this song it actually has earned him a living, one song for his whole life. He's written many other songs, but this song seems to have caught people. It's still played on the radio, it's used in ads, it's all the time. Oh, good. So, with that, this is what we're proposing. Here you have the back of 110 Pleasant Street, and it could look like this. One more, Sharon. So we did a competition, and we felt that this was an unbelievable mural that a very well-known, well-respected, we've checked out his credentials, muralist has proposed. This, to us, was the most spectacular. So tonight, you'll be voting on whether or not you agree that it'll be okay to put this mural in August on the back of 110 Pleasant Street. Just so you know, I've met with Eastern Bank because this is going to affect that drive-through. I know you guys are interested in some of these logistical things, so I'll just get them out of the way. Eastern Bank is thrilled to be supporting the Art Line by not worrying at all that people can't use that entrance for the month of August. And we have a letter to that effect, which we'll get to you. So with that, I want to just thank you for letting us talk about this, and thank the City Council, the Mayor's Office, the community. So many city offices have been so supportive of this, and we're very grateful. We're still going to be looking for walls for Phase 2. Phase 1, we anticipate will be over by the end of the fall. All of those things that I just presented, our goal is to have them all done by the end of fall. We know Canal Street will have done by June 20th. So, and the murals, the Frank Stella mural and the, if you approve, the Spirit in the Sky mural would be done by the beginning of September. The other issues, features are a little bit contingent on what Brown, Richardson, and Rowe does, because we're working hand in hand with them while they do some of that work. So with that, I thank you, and I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you. Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President. Let me be, I know there's a lot of lights up there, let me be the first council to applaud your efforts in Malden Arts in the outline. I know I said that freely because as I was thinking this, I will be very honest with you. Originally, when we started painting switch boxes, because that was the first real art we were doing in the city of Malden, you're always skeptical in what it's going to look like, what it's going to come out with, and I've always been struck by how professional those switch boxes came out compared to some of our communities. I literally actually, my wife's from Medford, so I always point out that our switch boxes are much better than the ones we have in Medford. And then it just seemed to grow exponentially, not only because of the help of your organization, but the people in the community and the powers that be. But you should take a bow, your entire organization, because I finally see, this is one of the things in Malden that you sit on the council for a while, you put all the pieces together, but you never get to see the entire picture. And I think things like this are really starting to put, Malden on the map for all the right reasons. And just by looking at those cool sculptures and great paintings and the mural on there, I think it's only going to make this city better. And in the way you kind of tied, proud future, strong past, proud future, in a way, I think it's awesome. And the thing I would say to you is hopefully there's a Phase 2 and you're not going to stop at this.
We're tired.
I know, but I think this is just the beginning, and I think it really, you guys, it makes the city so much better, and just by seeing that, if you don't get excited, there's something wrong with you, but great work.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I want to make sure.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, thank you so much for your work. I know, having worked so long on the bike trail, people always asked me what it was going to look like, and I said, well, I just want to get the pavement laid. I'm just creating a canvas for people to work on it. It's great to see that Malden Arts has taken that and ran with it and really let the artists create amazing stuff. So looking forward to that. And seeing all this. One question I had was, we just had Malden Core in, and one of the things we have had on the trail, we were able to get a small memorial to Rebecca Knight out there, and it has a nice silhouette of an African American young woman, and it for kids on the trail, it gives them some connection to the trail. I'm just wondering, in the future phases, just thinking of that, how do you think you'll be vetting artists and trying to create a multicultural vision of what ultimately the art line becomes? So I just have that question.
Yeah, so that is important to us. What we thought for phase one was to focus on Malden-born artists. So Keith Knight was one of the artists that we looked into, and we talked with him, and it was going to be more problematic for him to be in phase one. What we wanted to do in phase one was to do both really prominent artists and Malden artists. We're going to branch out of that. We looked to find an Asian-themed mural, and none of those worked out. So part of it is it's a handshake that needs to happen between what we feel, because we're the ones who are doing this, and what the artist feels and what the building owner feels. And that's become a little more complicated than we had envisioned. But we had a great, I think we are interested in multicultural, and we talked quite a bit as a group as we looked at those 120 applications, wanting to have it be diverse artists. We were looking to we really wanted a lot of local artists to be able to be a part of this. One of our challenges with phase one is we don't really know a lot about murals, and they're a lot more complicated, or sculpture for that matter, and it's a lot more complicated than we had initially thought, and we wanted people who had a really strong track record in that, which is not to say that there aren't a whole diverse population of people who have a strong track record, but we're going to do better next time around.
It sounds like you're working on it.
Yeah.
I appreciate you thinking about it.
Yeah.
It does,
yeah.
It does take time to make all those handshakes work, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
You all set, Councilor Winslow?
I'm set, thank you.
Perfect. Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam President, and kudos to all of you. That's all I can say. I love your work, and I am just personally, and I know the entire city is just thankful that you all decided to move here and that you have this commitment to our city and our community and art. I mean, art and music, and I'm going to say gardening because I always use gardening as an example, transcends language. So I think that it's just so important to bring this vibrancy to the city, and that as I've said to you before, if I sit in a snowstorm and I watch the switch boxes kind of unfurl from the snow cap and see them come back to life, I smile. Every time I see that Ed Embley mural, I just smile. It just makes me so happy, and I am sure everything that you do going with this outline is going to be fabulous. I love the way that you're bringing and I understand this phases and exactly, what Councilor Winslow had just mentioned, but I love the fact that you're bringing the past in, and we're seeing the past and the hidden today of the herring run. I mean, even I grew up in Medford too, and behind Craddock's Apothecary, we used to go down as children for the herring run. I didn't know there was a herring run here until you just said that. So I think it's wonderful to kind of bring some of what's been kind of covered up back to life so people can appreciate not just where we're going, but where we've been and how we got where we are today. So thank you so much for all of your wonderful work and your dedication to your art in this city. Seriously. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
that was almost planned. It was almost like a great pivot from what Councilor Murphy said to the past. And I wanted to say, as we bring that past and we see all that past, I think art is a pretty vital part of our community. It isn't just a nice to have, and I think it serves to solidify and share our vision in something that's not just hidden in the history books, and that creates a new almost big bang for what's going to come in the future. So it's fantastic, really well done. I'm very happy to see it. So good job.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Di Maria.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Candace, for that wonderful presentation, and Sharon Santillo for all the work that you've done in the city of Malden. I consider Malden a home, and I think the work that you're doing is you're making a home for us with the art. This is our house, this is our home, and it's simply beautiful to see it evolve into something so creative. Just coming back from Europe this past week, the art in Europe is amazing, and because of your work, I was noticing so much of that, and I'm so excited to see it in our home. So thank you both very much.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to congratulate Malden Arts. It's been quite a few years. I mean, as an organization, they've become a 501c3 nonprofit. They will, by the time this phase 1 is over, we will have multiple sculptures. We're going to have 5 murals, and it's just phase 1. I can't even imagine what phase 2 is going to be like. I know I'm excited. I know you guys are tired. So if there are members of our community that would like to join Malden Arts and help you, where can they go to find out more information about that?
MaldenArts.org.
So if you're out here in the audience and all you can see now is blank walls and blank canvases, and you want there to be murals there, and you want to get involved, go to MaldenArts.org. Thank you again.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. There's not much more to say, but, congratulations on all really making this all happen. And I think just as Malden Core, really trying to bring community together and from many different directions. And when I met with Naomi out at the Canal Street location, just seeing that made me smile. It's very exciting. I think it's very colorful. It brings really life to lots of different areas of the community. And again, it does bring community together, so I congratulate you for all the hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you both. As you know, I've been a fan of your organization for many, many years, and I'm a big believer that public art enhances life for all of us. I love this particular mural. I just wish that when people walk by and saw it, Spirit in the Sky would stop playing so they could get inspired by it. I look forward to seeing the other art that you have, planned for the future. And I really love it when a blighted piece of property becomes a gorgeous piece of art. One of the things that I mentioned a couple weeks ago was underneath the bridge that the train goes over, the tunnel that goes under there. I know the high school students had painted something reminiscent of McDonald Stadium. I would love to see some public art to brighten up that blighted area. But I'm sure that you're vetting locations just as you're vetting artists and doing careful work. So with that, keep up the good work. I look forward to seeing this mural.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And on behalf of the chair, I cannot wait for Linden Square to get done. It definitely needs that splash of color. Thank you so much for coming in and doing your presentation. I don't want to wish the summer days away, but I do, so we can see the finished product in the fall.
Come
Truly
June 20th, you can
truly see. Amazing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Next order of business.
Okay, approval of the minutes for May 14, 2019, and for May 21st, 2019. Di Maria.
On Councilor Di Maria's motion to approve the minutes, all those in favor? All those opposed? The minutes have been approved. Next order of business.
We have a petition from Comcast on Exchange Street underground conduit. Is Comcast here?
The petitioner, please step forward. Please state your name and address.
Dave Llewellyn, Woburn, Massachusetts. I'd like to speak in favor of the Comcast petition for Exchange Street to place 3 3x5 manholes and 2 4-inch PVC conduits, 742 feet plus or minus, as shown on the attached plan. This will tie into the existing conduits at 141 Exchange Street and is part of the 190 Pleasant Street project.
Anybody have any questions? This is for the new
Yes.
200 Pleasant, the new City Hall building, the JAG apartment group. Anybody? Councilor Winslow?
I just have a question on the time frame. I know Mass DOT is proceeding with a project for redoing Exchange Street.
Yes.
Sort of what's the timing of this will be done before that work is done?
We're looking to start this work as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you very much. Great.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to ask any questions? Okay. So I'm going to open up the public hearing. Councilor O'Malley.
The entirety of the road work will happen, will happen in the roadway, except when you cross over the sidewalks to go into the building?
Go to the buildings, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I declare this public hearing open. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this petition, please come forward and state your name and address to the record. Anyone wish to speak in favor? Hearing none and seeing none, I declare that portion of this hearing closed. Anyone speaking in opposition to this petition, please come forward and state your name and address. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition of this petition? Hearing none, seeing none, I declare that portion of the hearing closed. Councilor O'Malley, would you like to make a motion? She has it going to... Oh, yep, grant, okay. Motion to grant. On Councilor O'Malley's motion to grant this petition, all those in favor? All those opposed? The petition has been granted.
Thank you.
Next order of business. Thank you for coming.
Be it hereby ordained that Section 4.22 of the revised ordinance of 1991, as amended, be further amended, the same by striking out Section 4.22 as it currently exists and inserting in place thereof the following new section. Section 4.22, claims against the city for damages to be disposed of by the city solicitor. All claims made against the city for damages shall be examined by the city solicitor. The solicitor shall take such steps as are deemed expedient for the defense of the city, and may, without further approval, settle any claim in amount not to exceed $500, provided that no claim shall be paid except in reimbursement for paid receipts to companies doing business in the Commonwealth. Claims also shall be certified by the Comptroller of Accounts to the Treasurer without further examination. Notice of all injuries to persons and property shall be forwarded forthwith by the office upon whom such notice may be served to the city solicitor for examination.
Did you want to speak on this or just send? Councilor Condon's going to speak. Councilor Condon for the paper.
Thank you, Madam President. Put this before the council with the hope that we'll move it into ordinance. I think it will improve the way we handle the claims. Having been chairman of finance the last 2 years, we can tend to get bogged down on claims, particularly if the people we represent. This way, I think it'll be much fairer and equitable across the board, having the legal department apply them consistently and probably settled or denied in a much more timely manner. So with that, I would move it to ordinance and open up for discussion if you'd like.
Councilor Camille.
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think this is a great idea. It's going to absolutely make the streamline the process, and more importantly, as Councilor Connor noted, make sure that it is being applied equally with sort of the rule of law as opposed to well, whatever alternatives there are to that. Also, I would just ask. I wouldn't amend this. I would just sort of ask that we do occasionally get a report of where we are on that fund and how many claims we've gone through, just occasionally at the Finance Committee as a, maybe included in the quarterly report or something like that. So just to keep an eye on it. Thank you.
Councilor Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam President. Yes, I totally support this, having been Finance Chair also, and also having sat on Finance my entire time as a councilor. We certainly do get backlogged with these, and I believe that this will be a very efficient way of handling the claims process itself. So I would actually like to be added as a sponsor.
You all set, Councilor
Yes.
Murphy?
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam President. And through the chair, if I could ask my co-sponsor of this paper, was there a reason why we want to forward it to ordinance? Or since our city solicitor in the past has taken on this role, and she is, on board to continue this process, I just wondered what is the reason to send it to committee rather than just vote it on the floor this evening? Thank you.
Hold on, Councilor Condon.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, your light wasn't on.
Yeah, she didn't work out this language, but I would like to have her review it and have the opportunity to give us any kind of feedback. She was very much interested in taking this on along with the other solicitors, but I'd still like to get see if there's some feedback and we can move it right out of committee to the full floor.
Very good. Thank you very much, and I am in full support of this.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, I agree with the wisdom of this. I have full faith in our law department to do an equitable job, and this will, of course, streamline the process and potentially take the politics out of any of the claim process. I look forward to seeing the before and after language of the ordinance change and seeing it passed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah. No, I am supportive of trying to streamline this process and getting a fair payment out of our residents as efficiently as possible. But I would like this to go to rules and ordinance just so that I can understand what the solicitor would want to see, and in terms of whether we need to make sure we limit it to certain statutes and other things, just to be making sure we're protecting the city otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, and finally, I'd like to make sure the people that do sit on finance, there's, I believe, a $10,000 line item in there that should be moved to the law department. Recommended that it be moved to the law department.
Thank you. Councilor Spatafora.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of what Council Connor said. Yeah, I just wanted to add a little, I full support it. The Attorney Fallon did reach out to me Friday with some suggested language. He wanted to suggest it, but I just said it would be best just to send it to the committee, come down with that language, which I have a copy of it, but I felt it'd be best for her to tell the whole committee in terms of her thoughts and process. We can debate it in the ordinance and hopefully wrap it up pretty quickly and get this expedited, so it is I think a cleaner process for the claimants at least, and probably takes a little bit of the load off the Finance Committee on such claims. So, just want to support. Thank you.
Make a motion.
I will make a motion to send the ordinance. I will make a motion to send the ordinance.
Councilor Spatafora's motion, seconded by Councilor DiMaria, to refer this paper to ordinance. All those in favor? All those opposed? The paper has been referred. Next order of business.
Order that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 14, the City Council authorize the grant of an easement for Corp. 245 LLC, owner of property known as 245 Commercial Street, for the extension of a contiguous public sidewalk for buses loading and unloading purposes. The easement contains approximately 30 square feet.
Councilor O'Malley for the paper.
This paper is related to the fact that the MBTA is going to add a bus route down Commercial Street to the request of many in the community. And this would allow enough space for there to be bus stops along that route. I'd move to refer to public properties so it can be vetted a little bit more thoroughly.
Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor to this paper and the next paper. I'm very supportive of ensuring that these new routes have efficient bus stops that'll help, you know, the riders as well as the motorists along these routes, so the buses operate efficiently. Thank you.
Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to be added as a co-sponsor. And so from my understanding, both of these are really kind of tied together. They're actually both on Commercial Street. The one that says Medford Street is where Paradigm positions, so their address is on Medford Street, but the bus run is going to be on Commercial Street. And so the MBTA is very supportive. They want to do this, and thanks to Ms. Louise, who did a lot of work, a lot of legwork on this one. There'll be change in the route off of Canal Street, which does not really have much ridership, but this will support, we have DTA, we've got an adult day hab, we've got the Head Start, really, and that's who is really kind of looking for this, is more the Head Start, because they have, you know, families that are bringing their kids in, it's a little easier. So in the Haitian Day Health, in South Cove. So this would really help a lot of those and move the bus line where it's most needed.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to refer this paper to public property, all those in favor? All those opposed? The paper has been referred. Next order of business.
Order that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 14, the City Council authorizes the granting of an easement for Stag 3 Malden LLC, owner of property known as 243 Medford Street, Malden, for the extension of a continuous public sidewalk for bus loading and unloading purposes. The easement contains approximately 30 square feet.
Councilor O'Malley.
Refer to public properties.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to refer to public properties, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The paper has been referred. Next order of business.
Okay, committee report, paper 226 of 19, that $6,600,000 is appropriated to pay the cost of design and construction of water system improvements through the city to be undertaken in fiscal years 2020 through 2024 inclusive. And to meet this appropriation, the treasurer, with the approval of the mayor, is authorized to borrow said amount under Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Sections 7 and 8, or any other enabling authority. All or portion of this amount may be borrowed through the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority Local Water System Assistance Program in conjunction therewith. The mayor and the treasurer are each authorized to enter into one or more loans and/or security agreements with the MWRA, and the mayor is authorized to contract for the expense any federal or other aid available for the project, including any grant related to such project for the MWRA, and to take any other action necessary to carry out this project. Any premium received upon the sale of any bonds or notes approved by this vote, less any such premium applied to the payment of the cost of issuance of such bonds and notes, may be applied to the payment of costs approved by this vote in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 20, thereby reducing the amount authorized to be borrowed to pay such costs by a like amount.
On Councilor Camel's motion that we receive the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Camel for the committee.
Thank you. Yep, so we discussed this in finance. This was an ongoing conversation we've been having that started when I believe Ron Hogan and Steve O'Neill and City Engineer Yumlip came down and presented to the full council the overall intent of the idea to start going after and replacing old mains that we have all throughout the city. A little aside, we did discuss a bit amending it to be more aggressive on it, but for procedural reasons and simplicity reasons, we sort of broke that out to a resolve, as most of you will recall, and had an extensive conversation there, which we'll probably talk a little bit about those details as well, a couple items down. So the overall idea here is we're talking about 80 streets for 5 years. This is the waterworks portion of the waterworks reserves portion of the funding. Still will only cover something like 1% of our streets, I believe. We have Steve O'Neill and Yumlip in the audience here if we want to get into more detail, and I'm sure many councils, both on committee and off, were there to discuss it, and so I'm sure we'll have good discussion on specific points there. But yeah, we voted unanimously to refer this, or to report this back and recommend passage of this so that we can start to do the tremendous amount of work that we need to do on our infrastructure.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, no, I think we had a really good discussion in finance on this paper. I think the overall sense was that councilors really did want us to move more aggressively, particularly on the lead pipe removal. But you know, this is a good start for a $15 million plan. And you know, the reason to move ahead with this maybe a less aggressive plan at the moment is so we can get going this construction season on the first part. I think we can come back in the fall, you know, when we get some casino money in and some other potential loans that we could tap, and really look at maybe going up a notch, but we can amend this in the fall. Let's not delay going forward here and getting some work done this year. The amendments in the fall can do, you know, years 2 to 5 out, but let's get going on year 1, and let's figure out how to do more in years 2 to 5. So I'm supportive of the paper as it's come out of committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair. 2 things. Firstly, I'm very happy that we broke this out in 2 different compartments where we're funding the water main replacement with this bond, zero interest loan, and then we're going to do a separate analysis for street paving. I think they're separate discussions. I think we want to replace the worst pipes first with the funding available, and then you want to repave the worst streets with the funding that's available for that. I did have a question in the committee. I understand that there's going to be potentially $15 million allotted to Malden that we can avail ourselves of over the next 8 years. And that's great. We can tackle a lot of these pipes. I believe we have 30 miles of 100-year-old pipes from the discussion that's been going on. The question I had during committee was, how many of the broken fire hydrants are going to be replaced by the pipes that have been designated from this funding source? I think that one of the main objectives we have is not just replacing the 100-year-old pipes, of which there's 30 miles of, but making sure we're replacing the ones that are going to bring hydrants back online in working condition to help service our fire suppression. So I guess I'm turning to anyone that's knowledgeable on this subject. If we have that information, I would like to know that we're selecting the right roads to maximize the functioning of broken fire hydrants. Through the chair, is there anyone with that information to this point? Mr. Lip, do we have that information handy at today's meeting? I know we have another engineer that consults on water projects, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have that information? Okay. Do you know how these roads were chosen? Was fire hydrants one of the priorities to selecting these roads?
Is this on? So these roads were identified way back when CDM was the consultant for the city. and the roads, the pipes were undersized, over 100 years old, so they are in need of repair. But it does not tie into the black hydrant per se, and we do have 78 black hydrants throughout the city as of 2018.
Do we know if this is going to fix any of the broken hydrants? When you say
Some.
black hydrants, those are the ones that aren't suitable for fire?
Yes, some,
fire
but
purposes.
I don't have that exact number.
Can we get that number? Because I think this is an important topic.
Yes.
Okay. All right, and I guess while I have you here, do we have a list of roads that are categorized by which water mains are going to fix hydrants and which will not? If you understand my question, in other words, categorized in a way where we can see which pipes, if we replace them, are going to bring hydrants back online.
Certainly, yes.
Okay, all right, that's information that I think is extremely helpful. I would like to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. As a member of Finance, I did vote to refer this out favorably. It wasn't a unanimous vote. One of the discussions, as Councilor Winslow identified, was that the committee, and I believe the council as a whole, has expressed a desire to see a more substantial plan. And what we heard from the city engineer and the administration is that they are open to that. There is an additional $1 million that can be tapped into this year, but as Councilor Kamel said, we do not want to jeopardize this construction season, so we can pass this, and I am in full support of passing this tonight and appropriating it. And I think the goal is for there to be, in the future, another appropriation sent down that takes into account the fact that as a council and as a community and as the administration, we want to use all available funds possible to do the lead pipe as well as the black hydrant as well as the small water mains replacement as fast as possible. So I'm in full support, and I appreciate all your support also. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to see this held up at all. I understand what Councilor Matheson is saying. I hope that we're doing a much better job. I know we're doing a much better job making sure that we don't go in there, replace our water line, and then other utilities companies come in and tear the street back up after we pave it. So I think that when we do design these streets, if there's a black hydrant there, that isn't a major catastrophe to replace that line. Most of the problems would probably be with the line or the hydrant itself, but I'd like to see that certainly considered in the design. If there are, it seems senseless to go in there, fix the street, replace the water line, replace the gas line, and leave a black hydrant there. That doesn't make sense to me. So I hope that we do pay attention with that, but I also hope that we move this paper out and approve it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. On Councilor Kamel's motion to adopt the order, seconded by Councilor DiMaria, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson? Yes. Councilor Kamel? Yes. Councilor Condon? Yes. Councilor Crowe? Yes. Councilor DiMaria? Yes. Councilor Matheson? Yes. Councilor Murphy? Yes. Councilor O'Malley? Yes. Councilor Spatafora? Yes. Councilor Winslow? Yes. Council President Sika?
Yes. The order is adopted. Next order of business.
Committee report, Rules and Ordinance Paper 25519. Order. Be it hereby ordained that Section 8.42.5 of the Revised Ordinance of 1991 be further amended as related to police patrolmen's salaries.
Councilor Spatafora's motion to receive the committee report. All those in favor? All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Spatafora for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. As well as in the past, part of the process for any raise within the city requires an ordinance change to match that raise. So the raises were passed in finance I believe, 2 months ago, or a little bit more, closer to maybe 6 weeks, as part of a larger package. I believe it was a 2% raise, which the union agreed to, a 2 and 2, I believe it was 2 and 2 to be exact. And the money was already appropriated, so we had to just match the ordinance with the contract negotiations to allow the officers to get paid. So again, the money was part of a larger financial package that was brought down 6 weeks ago. If you do recall, there was some debate in the floor with this paper in terms of sending it both to ordinance and finance at the same time, or sending it to finance or sending it to ordinance. So that was, we had to go through some of the tape to make sure we were in the right spot. It has been passed in finance, the money's been allocated, so this is the ordinance now that will change the language in our ordinances to match the new payment grid for the advisors. There is, if you look at the, I'm probably going in here much deeper than I have to, but if you look at it, it almost looks like they're getting a pay decrease. The reason why is because part of the negotiations, I believe there was was it hazard pay? Hazardous pay in the past was part of the overall salary. It has been broken out of the salary, so there's a reduction because the hazardous pay is not part of the overall patrolman's base salary, if that makes sense. In the past, it was one number. We are taking it out for a couple reasons. So the hazardous pay is a separate line item. The base pay is a separate line item. So if you were to look at the calculation, it looks like there is a feeder reduction, but it is not a reduction. It is their 2% raise, just with a line item broken out in the budget. And Council Kamel, Chairman of Finance, can answer any other questions on the financial side. Thank you, Madam President. I look for full support on this, as it did come out of the council, I believe, unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, this was originally, the finance portion of this was file created on March 1st. We discussed this in Finance Committee. It came back out to the floor as a part of a package. For everybody's reference, it was 84-19 was the original paper. And it was, I'm not quite sure how many different departments but the total was out of salary reserve was $337,973.70. Went to several different departments, including $120,305 to police, which was the finance portion of it. When this came up, the portion to go to rules and ordinance to update the salary schedule. Again, we hadn't realized that we'd already done the finance portion. We didn't have to do that, so it was just basically tabled in finance and handled through rules and ordinance.
Thank you. On Councilor Spatafora's motion to enroll the ordinance as amended, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson.
Yes.
Councilor Kamel.
Yes.
Councilor Condon.
Yes.
Councilor Crowe.
Yes.
Councilor DeMaria.
Yes.
Councilor Murphy.
Yes.
Councilor Matheson.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Spatafora.
Yes, but I don't think it was a
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Councilor Winslow.
Yes.
Council President Seeker.
Yes.
That passes.
The ordinance is enrolled. Next order of business. Oh, Councilor Kamel.
Sorry, this, so committee report 25719 is sort of erroneously on here. It should be struck. We actually filed this paper. I don't know if you recall, we broke this resolution out into two pieces.
So motion to place that on file?
Yeah, motion to place it on file.
Okay.
Thank you.
On Councilor Kamel's motion to place paper 25719 on file, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Paper's been placed on file. Next order of business.
Committee report, Finance Paper 23319. Resolved that it is the sense of the City Council that the City of Malden should investigate expanding the water main and lead line replacement proposal to maximize all funding available under the Zero Interest Loan Program through the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority Local Water System Assistance Program.
On Councilor Kamel's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor Kamel for the committee.
Okay, thank you. So a little bit of context on why these are 233 A and B were the resolves. There was some problematic language in the resolve itself. The intent was to say even if we pass, as we previously just did, the 6.6 million, we want to be more aggressive, but the language sounded like a presupposing that it was linking to the other paper when it didn't need to be, so we broke that out. We ended up filing that in finance because there was no reason to really actually talk about that because we were already talking about 226.19. And so 233B, even though it's a resolve, usually we talk about that on the floor. It was so intimately entwined with the finance that we were discussing, we decided to put that all into one conversation to have a fully in-depth conversation about it. So the reason for that resolve, the underlying reason, the spirit of it, was at the time the resolve was made, it was believed there was another $400,000 available in this year's qualification under the 0% MWRA loan. Turns out there's actually $1 million in addition that is available this year, and there will be another $1 million every 5 years available under the 0% MWRA loan program. Again, we had discussed, do we amend it or do we just pass the 6.6 million and then send up a resolve asking for a supplemental package possibly this year, and then let the mayor know that we are in favor of the $1 million a year coming down the pipe. So the controller produced some information for us on that the impact of another $1 million a year on the rates would be about 1/3 of 1%. So not to dumb down too much, but if you have a $100 bill, the impact would be 33 cents a month additional if we were to make use of each of those $1 million 0% loans. So I will defer to the other sponsors of this and my other my colleagues here to discuss it. But we voted unanimously to refer this favorably out of committee.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Councilor Kamel, for the explanation of the paper. And just to kind of restate, this paper is a resolve, and it's just stating that we would like all of the funds available to us through the MWRA related to water main replacement to be applied for, so that we can, like I said earlier, get a new appropriation and replace as many water mains and lead service lines as we can feasibly do in a limited amount of time with limited resources. So I would appreciate your support on this, and I would move, and I don't want to stifle any debate, but I would formally put on the table a motion to approve.
Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair. I wholeheartedly agree with this resolve, and I hope that the mayor takes it very seriously. The long and short of it is this: the MWRA offers zero-interest loans. Over the next 8 years, Malden is qualified to receive $15 million to replace old iron water mains. We have just appropriated $6.6 million of that money. So I think we should be availing ourselves of the entire benefit. Right now, we've accumulated quite a reserve from water and sewer bills that were over and above consumption and debt service. So rather than acquiring a zero-interest loan from the people of Malden, we ought to acquire it from the MWRA. There's also loans available for lead pipe replacement, and we are under a consent order with the environmental protection, and we have to replace 100% of these lead pipes. We should avail ourselves of one of those loans as well. If you go on the MWRA website, you can see that Newton has just taken a $4 million loan to replace full lead service lines. We should be doing something similar to that. It just requires us to submit a plan to help the residents replace their private side of the pipe, and I think that's a valuable thing for a city to do, especially one that has as much as us. With that being said, I agree with every word of this resolve, and I look forward to being passed and acted upon. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow.
I agree with the wording of the resolve. One suggestion I might have, though, is a friendly amendment to put in a date for this investigation to come back to the council, perhaps like October 15th, which is, about 4 or 5 months out, so that we kind of have some time frame. So I suggest that as an amendment of just having, report back by October 15th of 2019. Thanks.
Can we let Councilor Spatafora talk before we take your motion?
Sure.
Councilor Spatafora.
I support the amendment. I think one other thing I'd like to add, I think it's a good exercise. I support it wholeheartedly. We do need to do more, but we could have, what I always like to do is the devil in the details. It's still a loan. We still have to pay it back. So part of, I think, the process of coming back to the council is where is the funding mechanism to pay this? Because we could go borrow $40 million, but we still either have to get new revenue, we have to tax people, or we have to get development or a combination. So I think just part of the plan, besides a date, is if you're going to borrow this money, where is the money coming from? Because I've always said this, it's a water balloon, right? We got to take it from somewhere to pay somewhere else. And I fully support this. I think it's, one is we're being mandated to do it. We are trying to do it as aggressively as possible. This will actually put us in that plan. But I think this is an exercise in, okay, if we do go out and borrow this money, maximum fee, to Council Winslow's point, Council O'Malley's point, we need a plan in place, we need a date, and then how we plan on paying for it. And I'd like to see that to actually put this in practice and then aggressively go after the funding. So that's the only thing I would add. I support the amendment on the date and maybe just a payment plan or whatever you want to call it in terms of the loans. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. On Councilor Winslow's motion to amend to add a date of October 15th, seconded by Councilor DiMaria. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The resolve has been amended. On Councilor Kamel's motion to pass the resolve as amended, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? The resolve has been passed. Next order of business.
Committee report, public properties. Order that the City of Malden enter into an agreement with the Malden Arts for the installation of a mural on public property at 110 Pleasant Street.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor? All those opposed? The committee report is received. Councilor O'Malley for the committee.
Thank you, Madam President. As was just shown us through Malden Art's great presentation, we have an opportunity to have a mural installed on 110 Pleasant Street. It's the Spirit in the Sky one that was discussed. This paper went to Public Properties, and it was vetted, and we were shown it last week. We reported out favorably. So I'd ask for your support. I know that there are some time constraints here in terms of when the funds can be used and when they need to start going out there and actually installing it. So I appreciate your support. Without stifling any debate, I would move to approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm totally in support of this, but I did have one question. Given that our first presenters were, Malden Core, is there any opportunity to, instead of the big white hand, maybe a shading that's a little more representative of?
Well, that's what we just talked about, and we'll have it be a multicultural hand.
I love it. Thank you very much.
Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam President. I do want to second the motion, and I'm very happy about the change in hand. That was great, brilliant thinking. I think one of the great things that Malden Arts did for this is to explore the safety concern with the actual painting of this and talking with the business owner and making sure that it's done kind of an off-season this summer. So I totally support this. I'm beyond thrilled with it, and I thank you again. And I second that motion.
On Councilor O'Malley's motion to adopt, Councilor Spatafora.
I just want to say I second it, and I thought of something after, and I went down and spoke to them. It's such a great piece, and I asked if it was going to be lit at night, and they looked at me and said, no, but it's a great idea, so I think it's something we should consider it as a city property. I think it would be good to have some lighting up there. But I fully support it, maybe not right away, but I think we should look for some help to put some lights up there to showcase it at night. I think it would be well-received throughout the community, so that would be my only caveat, that we add some lights there. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Anyone else? On Councilor O'Malley's motion to adopt the order, the clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Anderson? Yes. Councilor Kamel? Yes. Councilor Condon? Yes. Councilor Crowe? Yes. Councilor DiMaria? Yes. Councilor Matheson? Yes. Councilor Murphy? Yes. Councilor O'Malley? Yes. Councilor Spatafora? Yes. Councilor Winslow? Yes. Council President Sika?
Yes. The order is adopted. Next order of business.
That's all I have.
Docket is clear. Personal privilege. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you, Madam President. And I do want to take a moment to wish all the graduates this Sunday from all the high schools in Malden a very successful future, and congratulations to the class of 2019. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Kamel.
Yeah, I just want to remind folks that tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the police station community room, we will have the first Trafton Park revitalization session. What we're going to do tomorrow is we're going to take a look at, preview what the process is, talk about what funding we're going to be going after, recap some of the really preliminary meetings we had some time ago that talked about some ideas, and we were able to get some structure together to go to help the MRA go for the CPC application. And now that that has been granted, we're going to move forward. How are we going to move to the next phase of our planning and have a really community-driven process? And again, that is tomorrow at 7 p.m. at 800 Eastern Ave, the police station, in the community room. So, thank you. Oh, and co-hosting, of course, with Councilor Winslow. Don't want to leave him out, but thank you.
Thank you. Councilor O'Malley.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to wish the Malden community a happy Pride. Next week is Pride Week. We also have next Tuesday is, or next Monday is Eid, so I want to wish the Muslim community a happy Eid. And the last announcement I have, I'd like to do a moment of silence. I know last week we had attempted to do this, but we didn't have all the details. Unfortunately, a family from the BB school lost one of their children. His name was Jaden, and it was a very tragic situation. They have a GoFundMe page where they're raising funds for his services. If you're interested in donating that, just Google "Support Jaden's Family" GoFundMe, and you'll find that page. But I ask that we do a moment of silence in memory of Jaden.
Sure. All rise. Thank you, Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Matheson.
Thank you, Council President. I would just like to let the Malden community know that Malden is going to be holding its Arbor Day tree planting this Friday, May 31st at 12:30 p.m. That's half past noon at Fellsmere Park, as we have every year. That's at the corner of Savin Street and Fellsway East, where there's a floral mound and some trees back there. We have students that come out and family that comes out because we dedicate these trees every year to a resident of Malden that's a loved one who's recently passed. This year it is Barbara Lasky, longtime resident of Malden, and one of those folks that came out for every 4th of July to volunteer, whether you asked her or not. She just loved Malden. She knew everybody, and she just loved to help. She just recently passed earlier this month from cancer, much too young. These aren't huge events, but I got to tell you, the Arbor Day is just a wonderful feel-good event. Whoever is there, it's just the community coming together, putting their hands in the soil together, planting a tree together, and it's something that you'll never forget. Everyone is welcome, all interested residents, all councilors, the mayor's office. We have different visitors every year. And I hope to see some people down there, and hopefully we have a beautiful day and a beautiful event.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Winslow.
Yeah, I want to thank the Department of Public Works and the many volunteers who helped a very successful Memorial Day event yesterday. I know a lot of us were able to come out to that, but a wonderful event all around the city, and great that we could honor our fallen soldiers in that way. So that was a very nice thing, and a lot of volunteers helped put out flags and put up wreaths for the various monuments. I know in Trafton Park, both Trafton as well as at Garvin, there were wreaths there, so very nice to see that. I also wanted to say this coming Sunday, June 2nd, is the 27th annual Bike to the Sea Day. We will be starting from the Malden English School at 9 o'clock, and you're all welcome to come out. Hopefully there'll be good weather, and we'll be biking over to the beach in Lynn. So looking forward to that, and maybe the next year or two it will be paved all the way. So thank you very much. Great.
Thank you. Councilor Crowe.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind people that next Friday, June 14th, will be Flag Day, and we'll have our annual Flag Day ceremony at Bell Rock Memorial Park, where the Flag Defenders Monument is. We'll start at 5 o'clock. We have the Malden High School Band and the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and we really just hope people take a little time to stop by and really honor the flag. Thank you.
Councilor Crowe, can you tell me that date again?
June 14th.
Oh.
At 5 p.m. Friday.
A Friday?
A Friday.
It's Flag Day.
Okay.
It's always June 14th.
Okay. I didn't think June. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Anderson.
Thank you. I want to mention the passing of Mr. Don Wiener. Don Wiener was a very active member of the Malden community. He passed away last Friday. His funeral was on Sunday, and the family is sitting shiver for the next couple of days. Don was very active in the Jewish war veterans, veterans of foreign wars. Some of you may have seen him in his retirement days when he worked at he volunteered at the YMCA. I would see him there in the mornings when I would go there with my grandchildren going for swimming lessons. He was there greeting the children and making people feel welcome as they came and went from the Malden YMCA. He volunteered at the Chelsea nursing home, and he was just a busy person that stayed busy all of his life. He and his wife, Barbara, spent 61 years together in their marriage, and was a person who very quietly and behind the scenes just did work, constantly did work. And so for that, I would like to ask us to offer a moment of silence on the passing of E. Donald Wiener. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to echo my councilors who who thank the DPW, but also want to thank all the various public safety organizations and all the people who marched in the Memorial Day Parade, the Veteran Services, as well as other people who came out. It was nice to finally walk down Forest Street on a new paved road, Council Murphy. So great job. Councilor Crowe had a dedication on Ferry Street for Thomas More, and it was a great speaker, very involved in details in terms of his life in Vietnam, and he was somebody who lost both legs at, I believe, 20 years old, and could listen to him for literally hours speaking about his experience working for the Philadelphia Naval Hospital. But really, it was a great day to be a Maldonian, where there was various activities going around, and I just want to take off Council Winslow's point to thank all the organizations and people in the city that made that day possible. It was a great day in Malden. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilor DiMaria.
Thank you for the second time, Madam President. Thank you, I appreciate that. Two things that I did forget is this Saturday night is the third annual Lantern Walk at Fellsmere Pond. Yep. And it's a wonderful event. It brings focus to our beautiful area at Fellsmere Pond, as well as our Malden Hospital site. So I believe that starts at 6 o'clock Saturday evening. On Sunday, we have a hike up to, and that begins at 9 o'clock Sunday. It's a hike back in time to the MIT Geodetic Observatory. It's a 45-minute hike up to 40 acres of conservation land, and the purpose of doing this is to refurbish the kiosk that is up there, that has been there since the late 1800s, and along with the help of the forest ranger that is up there and many people that are volunteering their time. All are welcome to come up on Sunday. The weather looks like it's going to be beautiful. So those were two more events. And then that is actually on the corner of the Fellsway and I hate to say, I want to say Carol Wachowski's house, but East Border Road, thank you, thank you. So yeah, so that should be wonderful. So it's a busy weekend in Malden. So I hope we see as many residents as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else with personal privilege? Motion to adjourn? Councilor Anderson's motion to adjourn. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matt? Motion-